But something I know is that the frequency of the solution is not on the same frequency as the problem. Hello there, it's Mandy Woodard, and this is Courageous Conversations. The show is all about our life journey and the growing and healing we go through. Sometimes it takes great courage to step out of where we are and choose a different path. I started this show because I wanted you to know that you are not alone, no matter where you are in your life journey. And my hope is that you will hear a story that I share or a conversation that I have, and you will get something out of it. You will have an aha moment or a realization, and you'll know what you need to do, because it is my belief that we are all here to help each other grow and become the best version of ourselves and find what our purpose is. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Let's get started. Hello there. I actually had the cheesiest joke on the docket. I'm going to say it, but I want you to know that I wasn't going to say it because it's like, that's silly. And maybe you're not even going to laugh, but I was going to say, we've got to stop meeting like this. And you're like, what does that even mean, Mandy? Which is why I took it off of what I was going to say. I removed it, but I will tell you, it is Monday night, 8:41, so a little better than the last time I did a solo episode. But yeah, it's the night before the podcast is supposed to be uploaded, which it will be. But here we are again, late at night, the night before. I'm not a fan of it. It's not ideal for me. I like to be prepared. I like to have things done in my timing. And sometimes I am a procrastinator. And, we're learning, which ironically is what this podcast episode is going to be about. Forever a student. I'm forever a student. I feel like we all are. And if you aren't carrying that mindset of always learning, always growing, I got to tell you, this might be a surprise to you, but that means you have a fixed mindset. And I would recommend then at that point for you to read the book Mindset. It is a really good book. It's taking me a very long time to read it. It's a slow read, but there are a lot of things in it. And I do plan to actually do a whole podcast episode on it. But it's all about recognizing where we are in a fixed mindset and where we are in a growth mindset. I'm not in a growth mindset in every area of my life, actually. I've learned that through reading that book. But here, in the moment that I am, I do believe I am still a student of life and learning. And this week, actually probably the last 2 weeks, have been filled with so many lessons, so much learning. I mean, all of life, right? But you know how sometimes you get in the thick of it and it's chaos and you're practicing patience and trying to figure out what's going on. It's like, that's where I'm at right now. So I wanted to take the time to kind of just share with you in real time some aha moments that I've been having and some things that I've only just discovered about myself, because this is really where I get to show you that we get to walk this walk together. There are times when I do know things and I can share them, and then there's times where I'm like, hey, I am in this. I am in this with you. The first thing I really wanted to talk about today, though, is as I record this, today is the summer solstice and it's a new moon. And I like paying attention to the energy of the moon and the other planets too, actually, because I find that, one, we are all connected. We might not fully understand it, but if we take the time to really see how we feel and feel those feelings, and then we read about the energy of the moon or whatever, we can see a connection. And I just think that's incredibly powerful. And when we know what the theme is of whatever the phase of the moon or whatever, we can co-create with it. And we can lean into knowing that this is all in alignment. It's kind of like that. To me, I always get the visual of floating in the ocean and just allowing the waves to carry you. It's that surrender. And know that everything is going to unfold the way that it's supposed to. But when we are resistant to the energy, we get caught up in it and the wave takes us out. And that happens. It happens a lot. It happens to me a lot. I've been knocked down by a couple metaphorical waves over the last week. So it's not always easy, but I love how connected we are when you really look at everything. I mean, really, really look at everything. So one thing I want to tell you with this summer solstice / new moon is that this is a great opportunity to let go of old ways and adopt new ways of thinking. And it's so funny because that resonates with me a lot right now. In fact, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but I learned a new tool today to help me myself in my healing journey and also help my marriage on our path of transformation. I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that's the big thing with the summer solstice is like, what can you let go of that's not working anymore? And where can you adapt this new way of thinking? And the other thing is it's the halfway point here, I'm pretty sure, close to anyway, of the year. So evaluating where you are with your goals. What do you have in front of you that you could be doing that you're not? Where are the belief patterns that are still keeping you stuck in cycles that are preventing you from moving forward and hitting your goals? Kind of just take a moment. Like, here we are, halfway mark. Take a step back and kind of assess where you are. Also, because it's the new moon, it's a perfect time to set intentions. So with that, as you assess where you are, you can kind of say, this is the intention that I want to set for the rest of the year. In the beginning of the year, people get super gung-ho about this. They get their word of the year, they do all their things, and then just kind of set it aside and forget about it, which is totally fine. You can do that. But I like to do this little halfway check-in. Like, we're halfway through the year. Let me check in. Am I honoring myself? Am I holding myself accountable? What are some things that I said I was going to do that I haven't done yet? Maybe you've been saying you were going to go to the gym since January 1 and you haven't yet. Now's your chance. Come on, the year's not over yet. And it's not a rush. It's never a rush. But if you're abandoning yourself or you're self-sabotaging, we want to kind of look at that. So this is a time, the energy is really telling us to open ourselves up to new possibilities and release this idea that we've already figured everything out. Because that idea will absolutely halt your growth and your expansion. It was kind of funny when I was diving in and studying this new moon in the summer solstice, that's what it would be when I already had the plan for this podcast episode to be called Forever a Student. So we are right in alignment. I mean, how cool is that? Some of the questions that I read when I was studying this theme of the moon are, if I could start something over, what might my future look like? And that could be in work, that could be in relationships, that could be living somewhere else. What would it look like if you completely started over? And the next question is, can I tap into my dreams without placing boundaries on what I create or envision? We do that. I do that. Let me only speak for myself. I definitely will have a big dream, but put boundaries on whether I can actually do it or not. I'll put limitations on myself, which is a big thing that I've been working through also. The next question is, when was the last time you did something that felt like play or got lost in something just out of the sheer joy of it? I think that this question should be asked all the time because we forget to play. We forget to just go and let go and do things just for the joy of it. And it's what allows you to really, truly live a healthy life. And as I'm saying this to you, I want you to know that I have not done this in a while. Other than writing out the notes for this podcast episode, it actually brings me so much joy to get my thoughts out and arrange them in a way that I can then share them with you. I love creating speeches and things like that. And this is all part of that. So this evening when I was doing this, I was really lost in my thoughts and couldn't write fast enough. And then ironically, as I'm writing, I got interrupted, which I will tell you more about that here in a second. The next question, though, I want to say before I lose my point is, how are you feeling at this point halfway through the year? That was the last question that I wanted to ask you. So for me, the last few weeks have felt really hard. I do best when I have some sort of a routine, and 3 kids home for the summer while also juggling sports. They're all 3 in a sport right now and needing things also from me and groceries. And if you're a parent, you don't need the list. It's a lot. It's a lot for people sometimes. Especially, I don't feel like I prepared for the summer break enough. I feel like there were some things that I probably could have done to set myself up for success here, and I didn't do it. So I'm constantly getting pulled away from what it is that I need to be doing. And I'm also a hermit in my human design, and I need solitude. I crave it, like as if you're walking through the desert and you need a drink of water. That's how much I crave solitude. And I haven't been able to make it happen for myself. So when it gets to a point, and it does get to a point, I end up being a lot less patient than I want to be. And I don't feel like, of course, how we feel is always so much bigger. I put myself on such this high standard of I have to get it all right all the time. But I don't feel like I'm nearly as good a mom as I could be when I get to this limit. And I love summers. I really do. I've always loved summers with my kids. I've never really been one to say, hurry up, go back to school, or, oh gosh, here they come. I love this time. And now I have a son I have this summer and next summer left with him. And I can't even believe it. I can't even believe I'm saying those words because it just seems like he was 10 yesterday and we had all the time in the world. And I know that we don't. And I have that in front of me. So I love my summers, but I love having a balance and a routine. And it's just not always possible to have that. So that's where I'm at right now. I keep getting pulled away. And that's what I was about to say a minute ago is as I was writing these notes out, ironically, I got a call from my middle son telling me a contact fell out while he was at basketball practice. My husband's the coach. He's there with my daughter and he's coaching my daughter. And then he has my son following that he then coaches his team. And I'm like, man, I thought I had this window of time. It was only about an hour. I only had about an hour to get my notes out, and 30 minutes in, I got that phone call and I actually had to stop what I was doing and leave to go to school. And all I could do was laugh. All I could do was laugh because it's literally what I'm talking about today. It's me here learning what is the lesson in this, because it's in my face. The cycle, the repeated thing, it's in my face. Because see, I know that I need to have better boundaries. I do. I know I do. I struggle to not drop everything and go take care of things when they happen. But what's funny is it's things like that. Like this poor kid cannot see. He cannot see. So I had to bring him a new set of contacts. It's just things you can't help. And those little things just keep popping up. One thing we will be working on is adjusting to this different schedule. And then also releasing pressure. Like, gosh, we got to let this pressure come off. It's summertime. The house is not going to be clean all the time. I'm okay with that. But it does get to a point where it's like, okay, this is a little much. And expectations, we got to lower those expectations. That's what I'm telling myself. And the expectations that I need to lower are on myself. I definitely have high expectations for myself. And I've been stressed, I've been overwhelmed, I've been frustrated, all just in this little pocket of time that we are in. But something I know is that the frequency of the solution is not on the same frequency as the problem. Do you catch that? I'm not going to get out of this problem if I stay in this frequency where the problem exists. So if I'm staying frustrated, which I really experienced this yesterday, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? My daughter's throwing a fit. She had some M&Ms. My gosh, does red dye affect my kid? It's crazy how much this dye affects my kid. She had M&Ms and was off the charts later on. And I just was like, okay, what's the solution? What's the solution? I am tapped out. It's Father's Day. I'm not going to put this on my husband right now. Like, I got to find the higher frequency so that I can solve the problem. I'll actually just tell you what I did. I ended up cutting on music, meditation music, and sat in her room with her, sat next to her, and she was throwing her fit. I wasn't going nowhere. I usually do. I hang there with her like, Mom's here for you. You can't hit me. You can't yell at me. You can't do all these things. You can have your fit. I'm still here for you. Like, those are the boundaries we do put in place. But eventually she calmed down and she just needed a hug. And we both hugged and laid in the bed together and everything got better. But I know that me raising my frequency in that moment was the only thing that was going to see us through. If I would have stayed just as frustrated and throw a tantrum, honestly, adults, we throw tantrums. We don't call them that, but that's what happens. I could have easily thrown a tantrum right along with her because I was frustrated by what was happening. I had to raise my frequency. Now, that was in a moment. That was in a very trying moment, and it was not easy. I'm going to tell you the truth. It was not easy, and I don't always get it right. But what does it mean to get out of the frequency of that problem so you can find the solution? It means we got to pull back. We got to recenter. We absolutely must meditate. We need to recharge. I know I need about an hour and a half in a bathtub just with meditation music. I just want to lay there in the water and do absolutely nothing but get wrinkly. It's how I can clear it all away. And I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to do that as soon as I'm done here. And I'm saying all of this to you because it's what I need to hear too for myself. And it's so simple, but we make things so hard. We make things so hard. We get stuck in cycles and struggle to pull ourselves out, struggle to set those boundaries. So we got to get clear on what has us out of alignment. What has me out of alignment? I have to ask myself, what has me out of alignment? Right now, it's lack of boundaries around my time, especially my work hours. I mean, when I'm at the office, I am at the office. I am unreachable. But when I'm at home and I need to do my work that I do at home, like the podcast or social media or working on the website or anything like that, like I have to get better work hour boundaries. Another thing is I have not been eating enough and I have not been getting proper sleep. And not eating enough will really get you in a moody place. Hangry. We call it hangry for a reason. And definitely when you're not getting proper sleep. But it doesn't have to be this shit show. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that way. I will say I did so much better about making sure I was eating today. And I am going to bed early tonight. This is not going to take me that long. So I can get myself back on track. And by the way, your kids are like little mirrors reflecting back to you your energy. If they're wild, I'm not saying it's always you, not 100% you. I mean, check if they've had some red dye or yellow 40, blue number 5. I mean, that stuff, it will amplify some behaviors. I'm just saying, look into it. It's a thing. But it is very true. If you feel anxious, even if you think you're hiding it, they will feel it and they will reflect that back to you in such a way that you're like, why? Why, God? Just give me a break. I mean, every time I'm like, man, these kids are really reflecting back to me my state right now. And then I got to check myself and I got to help them come up out of it. We got to all emotionally regulate and oh, what a fun time. We got to change our state. I don't know if I've told this story or not, but when I first hired my life coach in 2019, that was the first thing I said to her is like, I got a bunch of little state changers running around my house. She's like, what do you mean state changers? I mean, they change my state and it ain't for the good. It's for the bad. So how do I change it back? Because I got all these little state changers and they are not helping me. They're not helping me make progress here. Boy, did I have a lot to learn in that. And that is why it's so important to heal. We are all a work in progress all the time. Something that has become super clear for me this week, though, is I like to give so many people grace. And I say, it's okay to make mistakes. But for myself, I expect perfection. And when I mess up, or I say something I shouldn't, or I do something, whatever it is, I bring myself so far down real fast. This is where my fixed mindset will come in. And then I'm no longer worthy of anything. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. That pendulum swings both ways. And I'm still learning to find that middle ground because I can shine so bright. But if I don't take care of myself, things can get just as dark. I can go just as far in the other end. This is a whole thing in science. And I may not be your girl to explain it to you, but I'm going to do my best. I believe it's called oscillation. It's when something so far this way can also go equally as far the other way. And I learned about this recently. And the key to this is to get stable, to find Switzerland, find that place of nothing. And you achieve that in meditation. So when I say I can go this bright, I'm telling you, if I am not careful, I can go just as dark. And that's why I'm forever a student. That's why I'm still here learning. By the way, I want to add this here because I recently dove into attachment styles. I don't know if you've heard of this before. You should Google attachment styles. There's 4. And then take the quiz. Figure out which one you are. It's so crazy how it ties into my human design and also my astrology chart. But what's really crazy is that attachment styles are not predetermined. Not in the way like the moon and the planets create that chart for you. But this is about how you're raised. Your attachment styles come up from your upbringing. So I am anxious attachment style. And I'm also a Capricorn. And one of the bullet points of a Capricorn is also anxious. And I have a lot of fear related gates in my human design chart. So I just think this is so funny. And I don't believe it means I'm destined for this life of anxiety. I just get to learn how to make it my own superpower. But within that attachment style, I've learned that if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not healing, that unworthiness will just devastatingly take over and take me to such a low. So now that I know all of this information, my attachment style and such, I just get to learn how to make it now my superpower. Because no matter what we're going through, you can learn how to transform it into your superpower. Your struggles can become your greatest transformation. And maybe there's some healing that has to happen first. That's okay. Maybe it's a little of this, a little of that, a little healing, a little teaching, a little healing, a little sharing. But what we are going to do is allow ourselves to see what we need to see so that we can learn. Because just living on autopilot or pretending everything is fine when it is not fine, I've never been a fan of that. It's fine, I'm fine. I'm never going to be a fan of that. That is you lying to yourself. I'm here to be honest. Even when it's hard, it's not always easy to admit our vulnerabilities. It's not always easy to say, I'm not fine. But my friend, I have not been so fine. I've had moments of good, but I've also had some moments that have not been so easy. And even in the last couple weeks, I've gotten so tapped out that I'm like, not a good mom. I might need to just get in the car and go. Maybe I just need to check out for a little bit. And I probably do, to be honest. I probably do need that break. But I've had my pity party. I've been stuck in the frustration. And now I just get to be a witness. I just get to observe what's happening and surrender and set boundaries. I got interrupted when I was writing my notes. Well, guess what? When I was recording just a moment ago, I had to pause this because somebody wanted to come in and take a shower. It's like, are you serious? Are you so serious right now? This is happening. Okay, this is happening. I'm really, really just experiencing life right now to the fullest with you. How do I make it more clear? Okay, so here's what I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to tell you this. Make time for meditation. Make time for self-care. And I'm going to do the same. Can we hold each other accountable here? We're going to be great. You know that? Because when we surrender and become open, that's when our struggles can become our teacher. Remember that the solution is not on the same frequency of the problem. And we got to find that place of nothing. Of everything that I said, I want to wrap it up with this. We got to take care of ourselves. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. But you have to find the place of nothing. It's what will keep you from falling down that dark hole. We must surrender because there's just way too much out of our control. And when the struggle gets so hard, just become a witness. And then ask how you can surrender. How can I surrender just a little bit more? How can I surrender just a little bit more? Listen, if you have kids home on summer break and you're struggling, or even if you don't have kids and you got a lot being thrown at you right now, I want you to know that it's going to be okay. I don't know how long until it is. I think you get to decide that though. Find that appreciation and gratitude in every day, and you'll probably start to feel better. I mean, that's what I gotta sit here and do, and gotta be careful, because that's how toxic positivity can come out. But genuinely, Be genuinely grateful for whatever it is. And toxic positivity is when you ignore the fact that everything isn't fine. And you just, oh, I'm just so grateful over here and everything's great. Meanwhile, pretending like there isn't a shitstorm around you. We can acknowledge the storm. I'm acknowledging it. It's chaos in my house right now. Total chaos. I'm going to drop you this tip. Go listen to Essie Jain, ESSIEJAIN. The Rising is such a beautiful sound. It's an instrumental meditation type song. And she also has the blessing and the healing. Those songs have genuinely been keeping me sane. Because I will throw on my headset and put them on and just chill for 9 to 10 minutes, the length of it. And thanks for being a witness with me today. Thanks for listening. And I hope you got some value out of my share here. This is my little vulnerable share today. Too, if you'd like to share this with a friend, I'd be so grateful. And if you want to tag me on Instagram, you can tag me. It's at lifewithmandy_. Thank you so much for being here, though. I just want you to know, I really appreciate you listening, especially those of you that come in week after week after week. You don't even know. It just means so much to me. So, okay, I want you to remember, you are loved and you are valued and you are appreciated. Bye now.